How you doing? Hi there, you Jerry? You here to see the truck? Yep, I'm here to see the truck. Come on over. Whoa, wait a minute. I thought you said this thing's never been in an accident. It hadn't. That was on purpose. What's up everybody? Welcome back to the Dan Nanner channel and another experiment with the Silverado. We're gonna crash the Silverado into a tree.
What?
I wanna see just how safe or unsafe is a rusty vehicle in a collision. So let's take a look at how bad the rust is. Okay, taking a look under the truck, you can see the frame is absolutely Swiss cheese. My father-in-law welded a steel plate on here to stiffen it for just a few thousand miles until we were ready to take it off the road. But yeah, there's nothing really holding this frame together. You can see it's actually separated right here. And you can see some footage from up on the field. As I'm coming down the hill, you can see this rear quarter of the truck is just absolutely flopping. So yeah, taking a look underneath, you can see that frame that's supposed to go all the way across the truck is basically a half pipe and completely rusted off this end right here. I don't know how many brake lines I've had pop on this thing because of the rust, but it has been quite the carnage. I'm surprised that that shock tower is still holding. This one gave up the ghost a long time ago. So I want to see just what kind of damage we can do by backing into a tree and see if it is true that you should not be driving a rusty truck with a bunch of holes in your frame. So to prepare for this, I have pulled the airbag. I don't want that thing going off in my face. I'm going to move my Sierra here in just a minute, but we're going to back this thing into this tree right here and hopefully try not to hit my shed. All right, we are ready to crash this puppy, but safety third, right? Got to be safe. All right, here we go. Crash attempt number one. Well, that was an impact of about 5 miles per hour or even less. That would be the equivalent of a love tap, if you ask me. I think we can do better than that. Let's speed this up a little bit and see how much more damage we can create. So attempt number 2 did not disappoint. It gave us more movement in the frame underneath the truck, and we got some impact in the truck bed. You can see we folded that up pretty good. Let's go for attempt number 3. Let's pick up the speed just a little bit more and see what more damage we can cause. So this attempt has really given the bumper all it can handle. The truck bed got crinkled up some more, and the driver's side rear quarter is folding up like a crumpled piece of paper. That thing's so rusty back there, it absorbed almost all of that impact. Oh, look at the side of this thing. Wow. Wow. Oh, that just completely snaps. Try this again, and I'll try to go just a little bit faster. Maybe I'll try to hit more towards the center of the truck. All right, here we go. Going faster. I'm going to try to hit the center of the truck. Bullseye. Look at all the dirt coming out from underneath this truck. Okay, this will be my last attempt. So what do you think, Livy?
Pretty crazy.
You got a crazy dad, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, that was a lot of fun. Quite a bit of carnage. So as you can see, the bedside here is a little higher than it used to be. And they're also a little closer than they used to be. And the fact that this thing is up over 4 feet off the ground shows that there's quite a bit of movement in the frame. I'm going to go through and take some measurements, and we'll compare it to my Sierra and to see how far stuff deviated from factory specifications. Let's get to it. This thing is standing, I said 4 feet, but it's standing right at 5 feet. This highest point right here, this buckle, is 61 inches off the floor. All right, so this thing is 51 inches off the floor. And over here, we measured 61. Yeah, 61. That's a bit off of factory, ain't it? Okay, now I want to measure what is the distance between the bed rails. So we've got 62 inches. 62 inches. The taillights are 62 inches apart. 43. Almost 20 inches worth of carnage there. That's pretty wild. Okay, now I want to check how far is the bed of the truck off of factory. Bottom side of the bed of the truck is sitting at, roughly 31 inches. The top of the bed of the truck's right there. It was 31 inches on the Sierra. It's 33, so it's only moved 2 inches higher. But if we count this point right here, where the bed of the truck has folded upward, that's 50 inches. Quite a bit of movement. I want to look at this LS trim badge. It's sitting at about 46 inches off the ground. We'll go over here to the same badge that's on my Sierra, 51 inches. You can see how the truck is basically getting folded almost like a taco. This middle section is further down than it used to be. Okay, so I just had my wife help me. We measured the full length of the Sierra from bumper to bumper, and it was just under 19 feet. Well, we just measured the Silverado, and it measured bumper to the last visible piece of this truck, 17 feet 6 inches. So we've knocked 1.5 feet length off of this truck. That's pretty hilarious. I don't care who you are, that's funny right there. See, the bed is clear into the body of the truck, and I got a big gap down here now. If you're a paint and body guy, you know that ain't right. This gap is 6 inches, wherein the gap over here is 1.5 inches. That is a gaping distance. It's got this all bent, so that's no longer a rectangle. That's all folded in. It's like origami. Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. You see, this brace has separated from the frame. The frame here is completely broken down there at the bottom. This is actually a huge hole in it that's completely rusted out. See, the frame is buckled right here. It's twisting right here. It is definitely taking a much steeper degree. Surprised that the leaf spring shackle didn't snap, but it's still holding. That's amazing. This was separated from here, and so this part of the frame is now slid inside this part of the frame. So it's like a telescoping frame. See, the bed has separated from this brace. There's the gas tank, but it's still intact, holding gas. So the right-hand side of this gas tank, as we're looking at it, it's down a little bit, so that's further south than factory. You can just see how nasty that frame rail is. Looks like a ski jump now. This is the zip tie holding my brake line in place. You can see the curve in the old shock that broke loose off of the mount on the top of the frame rail bracket. If you remember, you could see through the bed, through that gaping rust hole. Now it's all folded in on itself. Here's the rusty tail light. Just snapped where it was rusty. There's the leaf spring shackle. That's the bottom part of the shackle. The top part of the shackle is right behind this sheet metal. Frame is cracked right there. The sheet metal split there. All that rusty spot just basically folded. This is where we get to some interesting stuff right here. This is the trailer tow hitch. You can see it's all snapped, and the bumper is facing the opposite direction now. This is all snapped and crimped, and it just popped off that plastic. This is the top of the bumper. The license plate should be right here. And if you just look just slightly below this line, there's the rear differential. That's how far in this thing's been caved. This is the tube for the spare tire. You know, you put your tool in the bumper and it goes through that tube to the gear that lowers your spare tire. See more carnage here with the tow hitch. The bumper support is completely rusted out and snapped. There's a crack right there. This shackle is hanging on by a thread. See, the inner part of the fender is all dented. It's pretty good rusty carnage up in there. You can see the frame is bent right there at the bump stop, and it goes up at a pretty steep degree angle. Here you can see the rear differential is actually clocked downward, the way the frame is bent back here with the leaf spring. So this whole axle is clocked towards the front of the truck. And I'm surprised that that shock is still connected. I thought for sure that would have busted loose. There's the tow hitch receiver. That's where the tow ball goes into. It's actually facing the cover of the rear differential. So that's interesting. Rear diff's been leaking pretty bad. I think I've got a hole it's rusted through. So you can see that the drive shaft is down. Still drives and everything, of course, because it's got these universal joints, so it's still able to work pretty well. The drive shaft is pulled out of the tail of the transmission. Looks like maybe 1.25 inches. Everything else looks pretty much the same. Rusty and crusty. You can see that the underside metal is sticking out from the fender because the rear end's all buckled. So that shackle is kind of twisted and bent at the top. There's the frame sitting up on an angle. This frame didn't bend nearly as bad as the other side. We did get into the back of the truck just a little bit there. You can see that it's actually touching all the way across there. This is the third door. You can see that this is shoved in that way and the door is overlapping. So again, we've got that nice gap there. See that wheel well over there. It's got a nice wave in it. So the wheel well is touching the bed of the truck because it's all folded in like that. All that rust all that metal that's no longer there is all crumpled up into a ball. So over the years when I would post any content on this truck, I would get several comments about how I need to get this truck off the road because it's so rusty and it's a danger to yourself. And that's the main reason why I wanted to shoot this video, besides the fact that I really just wanted to crash the truck and have some fun doing that. But I wanted to see just how safe or unsafe is a badly rusted vehicle. Would it harm the passengers in the vehicle? The Tahoe, the Suburban, the Yukon, you know, some of those vehicles have third row, which means your seats would be right here. If you have no metal underneath you from the frame and the rails and stuff being totally rusted out, if you were to get rear-ended, and if there was anybody sitting in that third row, it'd be curtains. But you know, pickup truck with a, what is that, about a 7-foot bed, you know, there's quite a bit of distance between yourself and the rear bumper. When I crashed this thing into the tree, I thought it was going to be a whole lot harder of a jolt, and it really wasn't. It just folded and crumpled up like a wad of paper. So I really didn't feel anything. This concave here kind of looks like you ran into Superman. So that's pretty much going to be the content on this truck. There might be a few things here and there that I might do to kind of, you know, do some destruction to this thing. But for the most part, that's pretty much the content on the Silverado. So where do we go from here? Well, the next thing I'm going to do with this truck is to pull the motor out of it for Project ZRS. My 97 Camaro is going to be getting LS swapped with this motor. We'll document getting it hauled off to the junkyard, and of course we'll get all the engine and transmission pull out of this thing and get that on video as well. But yeah, it was a pretty good run for the Silverado. It's kind of sad to see this thing going to be leaving, but it'll live on in the RS. And I'll pull off a couple pieces here and there and save it for the Sierra if something on that Sierra happens to break. There really isn't a whole lot of much of anything to keep off this truck. To be honest, it's pretty far gone. It's just so funny to look at. Well, so that's going to be pretty much it for the Silverado. Next thing you'll see me doing with this truck is pulling the motor. As always, I want to thank you for watching. God bless. Be sure and hit that like switch on your way out. We'll see you next time.